Yes.
The Honourable Mark Pearson.
The heritage. Oh, thank you, Assistant President.
Deputy, actually.
Deputy. Yeah. The numbers have been done.
He's always listening. Just be.
The heritage of the Australian Brumby. The Brumby holds a special place in Australian psyche, personifying the Australian courage and spirit of freedom. They hold a special and unique place in our history and have been immortalised in literature, film and songs. The Brumby is even depicted on the Australian $10 note, with its wild posture, flaring nostrils and the servitude it has made to man. Today, just like the kangaroo, they face an uncertain future, considered by some, including this government, to be feral pests. They find themselves becoming increasingly marginalised in lands that have been their home for over a century. A home thrust upon them when early European settlers found little need for them with the onset of farm machinery and released them into the wild, left to survive. It is this survival that spawned a time when only the toughest survived. Natural selection saw the evolution of wild horses with the traits required to thrive in the environment in which they found themselves. The Brumby has gallantly served humans toiling on farms as stock animals, building the roads and railways we relied on, even serving as police horses enforcing the law of the bush. They accompanied men to war, with over 70,000 horses losing their lives in World War I alone. Horses from New South Wales were drafted into the Light Horse Regiment during both World Wars and were still being caught and removed from some areas for this purpose well into the 1940s. In October 2000, the slaughter of over 600 Brumbies in the Guy Fawkes National Park sparked widespread public outcry and national media attention. In response to this atrocity, an inquiry was conducted which revealed numerous failings of the National Parks and Wildlife Service in their role in the mass slaughter. In addition, the inquiry also revealed via DNA testing that inbreeding of Guy Fawkes Brumbies is less than 5%. As a result, the Guy Fawkes Brumbies were given heritage status, the only such Brumbies in Australia to have the status. Yet it seems we have not learnt from our past mistakes. Killing is not the answer. All of the so-called feral animals were brought to Australia by human beings. We brought the horse here, not out of love, but out of a notion that they would provide us with something useful. We exploited them, and then they weren't needed. When they weren't needed, we disposed of them like mere objects and sent them on their way into the wild bush. Wanted yesterday, unwanted today. They survived and adapted like any other being on this planet, and yet some continue to persecute them. And if this government gets its way, decimate their existence to such a degree that their heritage and bloodlines will be threatened. I acknowledge that humane treatment is not a quick fix, one-fits-all solution. However, it is our duty to ensure that we invest and utilise best practice and sound methods of estimating and reporting the true population numbers. And where required, fertility control is to be used. And in parallel, we must invest in fertility control via research and development. This is a very successful method used in the wild horses in the Canadian Rocky Mountains and the elephants in Africa. The use of fertility control would also mean that fewer Brumbies will be born each year and result in a proper and sustainable management plan. Mass slaughter does not equal management, and until governments realise this, it is likely that the continual cycle of killing and responsive population growth will continue. Passive trapping and rehoming programs aim to capture horses with minimal interference from humans and released to suitable rehoming groups. Whilst strict adherence to best practice and horsemanship is critical to the success of such programs, this is another non-lethal strategy that would reduce numbers in the wild whilst maintaining cultural heritage and significance of the Brumby. In closing, I would like to challenge this persistent notion and labelling of feral animals. These animals are not feral, rather they are wild, untamed survivors of humans' past failings. I once asked an Indigenous elder, so what do you think makes an animal a native Australian animal? He replied, when it is born here.